Hello, and welcome to the Bluegrass Sports Show. Or go, take the light off of
We are the blah show. We are two fat guys that stumble once again over our words. We are the BS show. Yes, I'm Perry. That's Carl.
the animal.
I would go ahead and just say his name for him. I'm not sure if he knows.
Listen, we switched sides.
It
And
is
now I can't
completely
talk.
thrown you off. It's completely thrown you off. You're on that side,
jeez.
and you cannot speak the English.
No, I'm taking your place.
Exactly. Usually it's me stumbling all over words. So, this video today,
Oh, it's gonna be a fun one.
we've discussed in the past our top 5 most overlooked, underappreciated players in NBA draft history as far as to what they panned out for their career. We want to counter that by going with who we believe to be the top 5 bust in NBA
Or overrated.
history, or overrated at this point. Now, he has no idea what I've got. I've got no idea what he's got. They may differentiate. They may be the same.
Differentiate.
Now, at number 5, I'm going to warn you. I've got a tie.
A tie.
I couldn't decide.
You and
I,
you and A and B.
these guys don't even deserve to be A and B. They were thought to be A and B. They turned out to be Z and not even a letter. So,
Y and Z, boys.
at number 5, and once again, with this video, I'll let you explain. We don't want to emphasize on injuries.
No. That is the thing. If let's say Greg Oden, Sam Bowie, whatever, what they could have been if they didn't have the injuries, it's not their fault they got injured. I mean, that's not their fault. I'm looking, and he is too as well. We're looking at players who did not have injuries, who this was literally, they just sucked in the NBA game, and they died out. And it could be an attest to them personally, as they could have maybe changed stuff.
Self-infliction.
Yes. Or it could be that they just literally couldn't play the game like it was predicted they would.
And the reason why I had you go ahead and explain that, because one of my number 5 that I have with a tie can somewhat be related to injury, but is a self-inflicted.
Okay.
At number 5, on one side, I have Adam Morrison.
Ooh.
Drafted number 3 overall by Charlotte.
Didn't make my list.
Adam Morrison was just
He was, but you'll hear my list.
A National Player of the Year in college, drafted number 3 overall, and he's remembered as the guy on the Lakers bench that never showered.
None of mine went after number 2.
Nice, I understand. Now, who I have with him at number 5, who I fought with, I've got Jay Williams.
Jay Williams.
National College Player of the Year coming from Duke. A national champion and should have been a 2-time national champion in college.
His injuries were self-inflicted, huh?
They were self-inflicted. He was in a motorcycle crash. And I'm unsure directly, I think I've heard him talk about this, that it was a direct violation of his contract to be on the motorcycle at this point. Wrecked a motorcycle, got hurt. Teams never looked at him again.
Yep.
And then he had a terrible issue with drug addiction.
Yep.
And that's something that a lot of people may not know about Jay Williams.
But I'm telling you, Jay Williams was the man in college.
Yes, he was. Absolutely,
I
he was
love
the
Jay
man.
Williams.
Jay Williams, one of my favorite Dukies of all time, one of the most intelligent people to listen to talk about the game of basketball. And he, like Jay Billis, very unbiased.
Yep.
A lot of people will just say, he went to Duke. It's not where they went. They are excellent analysts at their job now. But as far as what he could have been in the league, to me, I think Jay Williams being taken at number 2 and never having any success due to his own self-infliction.
Right.
I believe
I can see that, but if I'm you, I give the nod to Adam Morrison.
It was close. It was
just because
you can look at Adam Morrison and say that guy, and then you realize what Jay Williams could and should have been.
Right.
He could have been the best point guard of the last decade.
Mm-hmm. He could have been, yes. But when you said self-inflicted, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that because, like, to me, riding a motorcycle and wrecking is not necessarily self-inflicted.
He didn't plan to wreck the motorcycle.
Right, obviously.
But he shouldn't have been on the motorcycle.
He shouldn't have been on the motorcycle, I'll give you that. But when I was thinking self-inflicted, I was thinking, like, he done something absolutely idiotic that ended up hurting himself.
The drug addiction itself.
Well, yeah, but that was after.
He could have. He could have.
Yeah, he could have.
Who's your 5?
My number 5. Hold on, pulling my list.
Have mercy.
My number 5.
Change seats. You can't change preparational tactics.
Is Kwame Brown.
That low.
That low.
Okay.
And I've got a reason for it.
Okay.
Kwame Brown's the only guy on my list who had and I don't remember how many years exactly, but it was pretty high up there. He had I don't know, 15-year maybe career. He's still playing today, ain't he?
I don't think so. I hope not.
But he, somehow, I don't really know how, but he had a long career. So that's the only reason he moves down my list. And I've actually got a guy picked at number 2 above him, right? Even though he was a number 1, and it's only because of his long career. That's the only reason he gets.
Well, who's your 4?
He
If
moves
Kwame's your 5, who's your 4?
My number 4 is Darko Milicic.
Okay.
Darko Milicic. That's the number 2.
Okay.
And Darko, when we talk about Kwame too, this was a draft that was not amazing. That Kwame was taking number 1 in. This was a poor draft. Darko was taking in an amazing draft. He was picked over Carmelo Anthony, D. Wade, Chris Bosh, just to name a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And he was absolutely useless. Darko was terrible. So he gets the nod over. And he only played, I think, maybe 4 years.
Played 12 years.
Darko did?
12-year pro career.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. But because of who he's picked over, I still place him above Kwame.
Okay. Now, my number 4, this is where I have Anthony Bennett.
At number 4?
At number 4. Now, the jury is still out.
That's the only reason.
He was drafted number 1 overall in 2013 and arguably one of the worst NBA drafts of all time. Whenever you just look at how talent has projected itself and developed at this point, maybe your best player from that draft is Victor Oladipo. And that tells you a lot. With Bennett, he's drafted overall number 1, never plays a game for the team that drafts him. He's immediately packaged and shipped off. No, I'm sorry. He did play. He did play for Cleveland. It was the next year of the trade. It was next year. It was Wiggins. It was when everybody drafted Wiggins number 1. I'm sorry.
So
he did play.
Next time I'll correct you.
But I mean, just awful.
Yep.
There was no reason. Now there was a lot of hype for him.
Yep.
This goes to show you, as far as one and done players, what passing on an established coach to prepare you for the league, like Cal or Kay or Bill Self, while I don't necessarily think they're as good as Cal, that he would have been better off playing for them. That's what happens whenever you pass on all of this and go play for some hole in the wall like UNLV at this point. UNLV, very prosperous at one point in our history, not now. Whenever you just want to go be the fish in the pond as opposed to a fish in the pond. So, to me, Anthony Bennett, he deserves to be on this list. Because of how young he is, the fact that he still has a chance
I can
to do
see you putting him lower.
It's like, yes, in the long run, will he likely be mentioned along the facts with Kwame or with Darko, with Jay Williams, with Adam Morrison? Very likely, very possible. The difference is you could have made the same argument for them at the same point at which we're with Anthony Bennett now. Still very young. He still has a chance.
Yes, he does. I mean, at this point, it's only been 4 years since he was in the draft. I mean, it really has.
Now, number 3 is where I have Kwame.
Okay.
I have Kwame at number 3.
Really? And you was...
Just number 1 overall draft pick in 2001. 2000. One of the two. I think it was actually 2001.
I can't remember which one for sure, but...
Kenyon Martin was 2000. So Kwame was 2001. Yep. So you had the number 1 overall draft pick, as he attested to. It wasn't as bad as 2013. Still wasn't a great draft as far as what it gave you for all-time talent or all-league talent down the line. He deserves to be high on this list because he was taken number 1 out of high school. You're taking a player overall number 1 out of high school. Yes, Vex worked out in the past elsewhere with LeBron, with Dwight Howard.
Kobe
wasn't taking number 1.
He wasn't taking number 1,
but you had those 2 high school players taking number 1 overall.
But Dwight Howard still wouldn't.
Exactly. But all of this is after Kwame. So Kwame was really the first of that.
Yep.
And he was just an absolute bombshell of a
one thing I do want to say
individual
in Kwame's defense
as a player
is that it's been said and accounted for that maybe Michael Jordan actually broke Kwame down And that's what caused some of the problems. Because Kwame challenged him, and this is Kwame's fault, okay?
But it's all part of the story.
I know. But Kwame challenged him to a game of one-on-one, which, of course, you don't do that with Michael Jordan, right? So Michael Jordan makes him look like a fool out there and does not let him live it down. Ever. Constantly brings it up. And it kind of just killed Kwame's confidence.
Mhm.
He looked like a better player till this point. He looked like he was going to be maybe okay.
Okay.
You know, and
Who's your 3?
my 3 is where I got Bennett. That's where I got Anthony Bennett. And for the same reason, I mean, he's still young, but I could see you having him lower because of age. I just don't foresee it changing.
I have him on this list solely at this point because he doesn't play.
Right.
I think he was with the Raptors last year, but I can't attest that he played for the Raptors. So,
But that's what I'm saying. I just don't see him playing. I don't see him making a comeback and, doing anything.
But he's young enough to where the jury's out that it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It could. So I'm putting him at number 3. I could easily see him maybe topping this list, except for who was picked after him. There wasn't a whole lot. And
Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Michael Olowokandi.
I don't have him on my list.
That's my number 2. It is. And he was picked, I believe he's picked.
He was picked number 1.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
He was number 1 in the 90s.
But he was supposed to be a franchise player.
For what he was picked, where he was picked at, and what his potential was thought to be.
Right.
I can see considering him.
Right.
But he still
he turned out an okay
He had
career.
decent numbers. And at some points in his career, he was considered as a decent player. Not good.
But it wasn't a very long career. Either.
Exactly. It was very short.
Yep.
I can 100% see justifying Olowokandi being on this simply because his name is outrageous.
But also who he's picked over. That's another reason
Vince
why
Carter,
he's
Antoine Jameson.
That's the whole reason
Dirk.
why some of
Paul Pierce.
That's the whole reason why some of them are higher to me is because of the talent that was available, and you chose to take this guy. That's the reason Olowokandi gets the nod for me at number 2.
Yep.
So now you're up to
My number 2. This is where I have Hasheem Thabeet.
Ooh, now I don't have Thabeet on mine. I don't have Thabeet. He's still young too. I mean, technically.
Not really. I mean, he was.
Has it been? God, we're
in
getting
2009. I mean,
We're getting
he's
old.
not a puppy anymore. Here's this monster, like 7'3", 7'4".
And I
just
thought about Thabeet,
completely decimates the entire Big East.
but it's just
in college.
because of his height.
But
that's all it was.
it doesn't matter.
I know.
He was so fantastic in college.
Mhm.
Just the impact that he had, taking number 2 overall in 2009 behind Blake Griffin.
Yep.
And then, has he done anything?
Yeah, I know.
Just-
I seriously considered putting him on there. I really did.
I take him at number 2 because he was taken at number 2.
Really?
I mean, but look at his size.
Right.
He's 7'3". Turn off your ringer.
Oops. David. Sorry.
Jesus.
Trying to film here, brother.
I'm begging for some professionalism.
I don't have it in me.
But I have him at number 2 because of the size of the man that he was, the projected impact with his size.
Right.
Just saying,
Yeah, I mean,
if he lives
understand.
up to 50 to 75% of what he's supposed to be in the last
He's a
7
decent,
years,
he's a very decent player.
look at the league as far as centers are now.
Yep. He's a very decent player.
He should have very easily, at the worst, been Roy Hibbert.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yep.
He's bigger than Roy Hibbert.
Well, taller. I don't think he's bigger.
I don't know.
He was pretty skinny.
He was skinny, but he was a kid.
Right.
So I've got the
Okay.
beat.
I can see you having, and like I said, I very highly consider it to be. I just didn't give him the nod.
Well, who's your 2? Have you already given me your 2? Oh, is it my turn to give my number 1? Oh!
Oh, Lord.
It's my turn to give you the number 1. I have Darko at number 1.
Do you?
Darko
Because of who he's
Milicic at
picked
number
over?
1. Exactly.
Yep.
Darko Milicic's taken number 2 in the 03 draft behind LeBron, of course, at number 1.
Mhm.
But he's taken ahead of Dwayne Wade,
Right.
Carmelo Anthony, and Chris Bosh,
Mhm.
among others in that draft.
Mhm.
There's other players that were much better than Darko. I'm focusing on those 3 because you can make arguments for Wade to be a top 5 player all time at his position.
Yep.
Carmelo to be a top 10 player all time
Yep.
at his position, and Chris Bosh to be a top 15 player
10 to
all
15.
time at his position. You're talking about in the history of the NBA.
Yep.
He was taking over 3 guys, not just somebody else may be taking over one of those guys.
Right.
He was taking over 3 of those guys. And he was taking over 3 of those guys by a team who was contending,
Now,
who didn't want to take a wing or small forward because they had Tayshaun and had Rip Hamilton.
right.
So they chose to take Darko. Just to me, it's a no-brainer. Because the Pistons, if they take Carmelo right here, or if they take Bosh and play them at the 4, granted, this likely means they don't go get Rasheed Wallace that same year,
Right.
so who knows what happens in the long realm.
Mhm.
But still, you've got a team that just come out of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
You've got a team who's about to go to the NBA Finals and go on a massive run. If you add Chris Bosh or Carmelo Anthony's talent to that,
Yep.
wow!
That was pretty low bid for you to try to.
I was just trying to say I'm
Oh,
underwhelmed by Darko, therefore he gets an underwhelmed squad.
I could easily see Darko topping this list too. I mean, I really could.
I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer that
Now-
Darko should be number 1 on this list.
Now, but you brought up the fact that he had a 12-year career earlier.
And he averaged, I think, maybe like 4 to 6 points or something. like
Okay.
that, which I'm
My number
unbelievably
one.
impressed he averaged that much.
My number 1 is a guy taking number 1 overall by the name of LaRue Martin.
To educate me.
LaRue Martin was a center, taken number 1 overall, played 4 seasons, averaged 5.3 points a game for 4 seasons. Taken number 1 overall. And I don't remember the specific year, so I can't attest
It's obviously
to.
been a long time ago.
It was in the 70s, 80s. Sometime in there.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I
It was
can, I can almost go backwards and tell you number 1 picks at least back to the early to mid-90s.
I did. I've done it before, so I'm right there with you. I'm pretty sure it was late 70s, like 77, 78. I may be wrong, though. I can't remember.
LaRue
I mean,
Martin.
I'm getting old. All right, but
LaRue Martin.
this guy was taken number 1 overall. And now one thing you could say, I could easily see you moving him down the list due to scouts not being as good then as they were now.
Mhm.
I could easily see that. Scouting's a lot different now. And the fact that Darko was still taken. And another thing, for Darko, or against Darko, I guess you'd say, is, well, no, this would be 4, is I think players were so hard trying to find the next Dirk.
That's part of it.
Yeah, and that's what Darko was
And
to them.
Joe Dumars looked at him as the next Dirk.
Yep.
You're exactly right.
And I think that's got something to do with his hype, but it wasn't necessarily his play. But I have LaRue Martin at number 1.
And screw you, Rasheed Wallace, for not giving your rights to NBA 2K to where the 04 Pistons, if we want to play with that team, we have to have frickin' Darko at power forward. Screw you, Rasheed Wallace. I'm done with this
Oh,
video.
jeez.
You're closing it.
All right. But if you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button. It was a fun video. There is some debate there on where placement is, but all of these guys are major busts.
That team don't even have Tayshaun on this year's game.
Will you shut up? Quit whining. Perry wants to go play NBA apparently. So anyway, if you guys liked it, make sure you share it. like us on Facebook, Bluegrass Sports Show. Twitter, Bluegrass Sport 2. Oh, jeez. Anyway, guys, have a great day. I'll have to cut this part out.
Sorry.